So let's talk about Trump saying that he is not joking about seeking a third term in office. Right? And you know, Trump has repeatedly teased the possibility of another term in office, despite the fact that the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution clearly states no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And while at least one of his most fervent allies in the House has proposed a long-shot amendment that would allow Trump to seek a third term, Republicans have largely painted the president's comments as a joke or just trolling. But now what we're seeing is that in a phone interview with NBC yesterday, Trump made it clear that he is actually serious about it, telling the outlet, "A lot of people want me to do it, but I mean, I basically tell them we have a long way to go. You know, it's very early in the administration. I'm focused on the current." And when asked if he wanted another term, Trump responded, "I like working." With the outlet then asking him to clarify and Trump explicitly saying, "I'm not joking, but I'm not. It is far too early to think about it." And when NBC pressed the president on whether he had been presented with plans to seek a third term, Trump just vaguely said, "There are methods which you could do it." And there you had host Kristen Welker asking about a scenario where JD Vance could run for office with Trump as his vice president and then just pass the role off to Trump, to which Trump replied, "That's one method," but then adding, "There are others too." However, when he was asked to share another method, Trump just said no. And to that point, it's unclear what other methods could really be used besides just amending the Constitution to abolish the two-term limit. Though that, I mean, it would be, to put it lightly, incredibly challenging. Right? Either 2/3 of Congress would have to vote in favor, or 2/3 of the states would have to call a constitutional convention to propose changes. And regardless, both options would still require ratification from 3/4 of the states. And then as far as, the idea that Trump could assume the presidency if JD Vance ran, tap Trump as his VP, then stepped aside, I mean, experts say that there are flaws there too. Because there has been some debate over a provision of the 22nd Amendment that says termed out presidents can't be elected, but doesn't address whether they can ascend to the office. Like, if they were the vice president under a president who stepped down from power. But this also, as you have experts saying that such a scheme, it would run up against other provisions of the Constitution. With this saying, for example, Derek Muller, a law professor at the University of Notre Dame and a scholar in election law, explaining that the 12th Amendment, which was ratified in 1804, explicitly says, "No person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of the vice president of the United States." And arguing, the language there implies that if Trump can't run for president again under the 22nd Amendment, he also would not be eligible to run for vice president either. With him adding there, I don't think there's any one weird trick to getting around presidential term limits. With Mueller going on to note that beyond that, even if Trump were going to try to attempt such a move, there are tremendous complexities in its implementation that are both legal and logistical. And adding, my belief, and perhaps I'll be proven wrong, is that such bluster is bluster to give the illusion of strength of a lame duck president. Right? And that is actually an opinion that's been echoed by many others, that this is just a tactic to strong arm, or at the very least, distract from all the other things that the administration and Elon Musk are doing. But of course, at the same time, you have others saying, do not take this lightly. Or with people sharing takes like, people dismissing the idea of Trump winning a third term because of constitutional term limits are underestimating the far right's willingness to circumvent the law by any means necessary. Which I will say, as far as how the right has responded publicly, it's been a very interesting mix. Right, on one hand, you have some downplaying the comments, or at least echoing left-leaning outlets and refuting the viability of such a move. But on the other hand, you have others implying this is a real possibility, and some even cheering for it. And this is, you have multiple right-leaning outlets painting this as a loophole without any mention of the 12th Amendment or other legal obstacles. With this including the New York Post, which also tried to preemptively downplay the fact that Trump, who will already be the oldest ever president when he completes his second term, would be nearing 87 years old at the end of a hypothetical third term, writing, "A small handful of leaders have led major Western democracies well into old age." Which, one, it is crazy that this is even a conversation that's being had. And two, I don't think we could technically call America a democracy anymore if this were to play out. Ultimately, that is where we are. And of course, I'd really love to know your thoughts here. Do you see this as bluster to make him seem stronger? It's a distraction tactic? Or no, do you think he would actually go for this? Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this clip from the full Philip DeFranco show. And also, a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our Clips channel. Turn your passion into profit over at squarespace.com/Phil, or use the QR code. Because whether you're launching a business or a lucrative side hustle, your website is your digital business card. It's the only space where you control the story, no algorithms or distractions. And with Squarespace, it's so easy because they got a ton of stunning professional templates with drag and drop editing that makes site design incredibly simple, no coding required. So get started for free at squarespace.com/Phil, or scan the QR code on screen and use code Phil for 10% off when ready to launch. Squarespace.com/Phil.